is a pastor and an author and a podcaster. He's based out of Canada. He's well known for his insights about the present day church, and a lot of the material, a lot of the work, research he does is on the American church specifically. I've followed him for a while. I read quite a lot of what he has to say. And my favorite work of his is something that he releases every year around this time, and it's an annual publication of church trends to watch in the coming year. And this year's edition was just recently released, and it included some pretty fascinating pieces to monitor based on his research. A couple examples. Interestingly enough, it's Gen Z. It's those who were born between 1997 and 2012. More so than millennials, more so than Gen X or boomers or elders. It's Gen Z who are leading the way when it comes to church attendance. And interestingly enough, it is men, specifically young men in that demographic, who are re-engaging or engaging the church at a greater clip than women. And he goes into reasons for that, which is its own class or sermon. Another thing he says is, perhaps unsurprisingly, that senior pastors are aging out and few people are replacing them. And for each one of these trends, Newhoff postulates potential reasons for why they are occurring. And it is one of these trends in particular that I really want to talk about today. Newhoff says, as the header of one of the trends, discipleship is now largely controlled by algorithm, and pastors are paying a huge price. And here's what he says. Talk to any pastor and they'll tell you that no matter what they do, it's increasingly impossible to say anything on key cultural or theological issues that doesn't generate a slew of negative responses, online and in person, with people in your church. As the culture wars rage on, almost any move you make as a church will be labeled too something, too liberal, too conservative, too partisan, you name it. You'll just never get it right. And that's because everyone in your congregation is being discipled all week long by different algorithms, such that by the time your congregation arrives at church ready to be discipled, they've already spent 49 hours of screen time that week being formed by algorithms, each click reinforcing whatever caught their attention. A 30-minute message, or in my case, 17 minutes, and 2 hours of small group hardly stand a chance. Now, I know that not all of you spend that much time online, 49 hours, or on social media, so this may or may not apply, but even so, there's a good chance that the television you watch, or the radio to which you listen, or the people you surround yourself with, or the internet that you surf in some way reinforces your belief system. It happens to us all. And the algorithm knows it. Click a certain link, and you'll get more ads or links just like the one you just clicked. Watch a certain show, and you'll notice more shows coming to your attention just like it. It is an addictive, intoxicating sort of entrapment with devastating side effects that we all become unwitting disciples of the algorithms, of their material, and of their cultural systems that seduce us. And it is there, into that context, that Paul writes us. He doesn't write just to the Corinthians. I mean, yes, of course, he did write to the Corinthians, but he's also writing to us, challenging us with this question. Who are we following? Who are we really following? Now, for the Corinthians, they were wrestling with who it was. It was Paul or Apollos or Cephas. It was very specific people, and it was very specific ideas that they represented. And Paul says to them, no, you do not follow those people. You follow Christ. And when you follow Christ, you follow his cross. And when you follow his cross, you follow something that the average person is going to find foolish, because the cross is where fools go to die. And so the question for them is the same as it is for us. Who are we following? And it is a dangerous question to ask of anyone by anyone. It's questions like these that ultimately landed Paul in prison during the time of Roman Empire. It is questions like this that faced Dietrich Bonhoeffer when he squared off against the Third Reich and Hitler. It was questions like these that faced the Dutch Reformed Mission Church during the time of apartheid. And questions like these face us now. In the middle school cafeteria, who do we follow? On our cell phones via text or social media, who do we follow really? With the decisions that we make at work, who do we really follow? With the decisions and choices that we make with our finances, who do we really follow? With the direction that we take our families, who do we really follow? Who are we following? Is it Christ or is it someone else? And please understand when I say this. I know that I'm quite literally standing up here talking down to you, but please know that I'm with you on this one. It's not an easy question to answer. You all know me. I'm a knucklehead. I don't get this question right all the time. Sometimes I follow the path of least resistance. Sometimes I follow where the money will ultimately lead. Sometimes I follow the way of not getting yelled at when you greet me at the back door on Sunday mornings. And while that sometimes can be the right tack to take, there are times when that is not necessarily the Christ-like thing to do. And so I and we have to ask ourselves as Christians, who are we following when we make our choices? Are we following the algorithms of our own comfort zones and echo chambers? Or are we following the discipleship equations leading us to Christ? And so it was last night. As I was wrestling with this question and failing to fall asleep, I decided to rework the final portion of what I have to say to you today. Because I have seen members of this congregation where I just so happen to serve as pastor struggling with this question. Who are we following? Especially as I've seen you post, as I have received emails, as it pertains to what's happening in Minnesota. And of course, one does not wade into these waters lightly or recklessly. There are those of us who feel some kind of way about what's happening up there, and there are others of us who feel a different kind of way about what's happening. And it feels very much like a zero-sum game for me to even approach this topic. As Newhoff predicts, I will probably be dubbed too liberal by some and too conservative by others. But my job as pastor and preacher, and our job as the church, is to be faithful and to ask ourselves when things are happening in the world, who are we following? Are we following the Democratic Party? Are we following the Republican Party? Are we following Governor Walz? Are we following President Trump? And Paul says here, no. You follow Jesus Christ. And in a world where algorithms support and reinforce our own worldviews, limiting our interactions to the echo chambers of our belief systems, the discipleship equation often looks very different. Because you see, that equation challenges us, and it pushes us, and it calls us out, and it forces us to do some things that contradict our self-interests. The discipleship equation might even look foolish because in the end it requires a cross, and the cross is where fools go to die so that others might have life, which will in turn give us life. And so the question that we have to ask ourselves as we engage whatever it is that's happening in the world, including the body politic, and as the tear gas descends and people live in fear, as people protest, and as their opponents retaliate, and as we watch all of this unfold from the comforts of our own living rooms and our algorithms, the question we have to ask ourselves is, who are we following? Cephas? Paul? Apollos? Or our own so-called bulletproof ideals? Or even, dare I say, Christ? And the proof in the proverbial pudding will look something like this. That when push comes to shove, who are we going to welcome?